evening, you're watching RTD's English News. Tonight's top stories are: at the 24th session of the Council of Ministers, drastic measures against terrorism has been examined. In Canada, the government announced a plan to resettle 25,000 Syrian refugees.
Those were the top stories. Thank you for joining us. The President of the Republic has heard this morning at the Presidential Palace in the 24th session of the Council of Ministers. A number of bills have been examined and approved throughout the meeting, including a decree of establishment of exceptional security measures. Let's hear it from the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Development spokesperson Mohammed Ali Yusuf. Council of Ministers has in the first place examined a bill on the implementation of exceptional security measures in order to ensure the protection of people and property in the exceptional terrorist risk situation weighing on the whole of the international community. These security measures are applicable to the whole of territory of the Republic of Djibouti, including in the territorial weather and airspace during 2 months. For this purpose, all the defense and security forces are mobilized for maritime surveillance, land and air. Then the Minister of Labor in charge of administrative reform, Mr. Abdi Hussein Ahmed, made a statement to the Council of Ministers on the reform of administration and employment. He recalled that the reform is at the heart of the policies pursued by the government. The main objective is to put the administration in the provisions of the economic growth and make it efficient, competitive and responsible. He has outlined the main achievement, particularly on the establishment of a plan of a computerization of the central system, the training of a human resource and establishment of a procedure binders of administration act. In this context, and to meet the challenge, the Minister has put the emphasis of the continuation of a reform in course of legal text modernizations, the improvement of a first-line service by introducing the initiative of a statement of service to citizens, the creation of a unit for the implementations and monitoring the project of reform and establishment of a good governance, as well as the contract at performance at the level of public enterprises of the state. The Minister has also highlighted the situation of the employment sector in our country and has indicated that his department has implemented a real strategy and has carried out activities to fight against unemployment. It is plain to the increase and improve the technical training and professional adequacy with the needs of the labor market and improve the employability and the reserving of the young people. To do this, the department has implemented a series of unaccompanied treatment of this policy, including the unit for coordination and animation. The Minister has talked about also the strengthening of capacity and operational means of the National Agency for Employment Training and Professional Insertion. As well as from 2010 and 2015, a total of 20,000 young people have been recruited. All these efforts made by the government were intended only to increase significantly the effort of help young workers to find suitable employment. Finally, the Minister has stated that the whole of its project is inserted fully into the national employment strategy.
The Council of Ministers has then examined and approved several taxes and bills, such as System of Information on the Credit, including another project on the creation of a national payment system, its regulation and supervision, also a draft decree on the establishment of a National Committee of the Sharia, and to finish, the sixth question of the day was focused on the appointment and assignment of an ambassador to the U.S. government. Here is the report of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
The Council of Ministers has then focused on the bill related to the establishment of an information system of credit which aimed to modernize by its novelty the financial infrastructure existing in national. Currently, the system of information credit of Djibouti is essentially restricted to the central risk operated by the central bank, and there is no specific legal framework which governs the different aspects of the information on the credit. This bill provides for regulating the collection and sharing of information between credit institution and the institution of microfinance, as well as all other entities of companies, public or private. It is assured the centralization of data on credit. The objective of this information system on the credit is intended to promote the distribution of the credit and to prevent situation of other independence by improving the quality and availability of the information available to the participating institution. It also has for the aims to provide banks one element to assessment of a credit. The adoption of this project is also in context on the modernization of a financial sector legislation in order to bring into compliance in an area financial regulation at the international level. On the fourth issue, there was the bill which has for an objective to establish a national payment system, its regulation and supervision, the rapid development of the financial sector with the arrival of new operators and the economic activities in a strong increase implies that the central bank have a legal basis well founded, clear and transparent and applicable to each material aspect of these activities. This project aimed to put in place an effective legal framework to boost and secure financial transactions to support the evolution of electronic payment and the development of infrastructure. In effect, the provisions of the bill relate to the power and duties of the central bank, the offensive corrective measures and sanction, the regulation, compensations, the liquidation and the reorganization. The adoption of this project will help to modernize the procedures and participate in the radiation from the financial place at the national and international level. The fifth issue was related to a draft decree to the establishment of a national committee of Sharia and in application of the law relating to the establishment of Islamic Bank in Djibouti. This component is responsible to ensure the strict compliance of product and activities of bank to the respect of Sharia. This Sharia committee has regulatory power up to enact decision as well as the decree to define composition and rules of operation of these college bodies composed of experts including the wise and learned in finance of Islamic law responsible for check, validate and propose sanction. The committee will have a permanent secretary of assist and to implement the decision. The adoption of these texts will accompany the development of Islamic finance in our country. At the end of this session, Mr. Mohammed Ziad, currently the ambassador and the permanent representative of the Republic of Djibouti to a United Nations in Geneva, was appointed ambassador extraordinary and to the United States of America in Washington and permanent representative of Republic of Djibouti to United Nations in the New York. At least the Minister of Higher Education and Research, Dr. Nabil Mohammed Ahmed, present the report of a mission of the International Conference on the activities of the research in the area of understanding the risk and their financing in Africa countries, which was held from November 17-19, 2015 in Addis Ababa. In this event, without images, the ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti in Somalia, Tayyip Dubad Roble, met on Tuesday, November 24, 2015, with His Excellency Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, President of the Federal Republic of Somalia. The ambassador has delivered to the Somali President an invitation of his Djiboutian counterpart, His Excellency Ismail Margele, in order for him to take part in the summit of the contributing countries of AMISOM troops that will be held on Djibouti in December 10. The discussion has focused on the state of the relation between the two countries as well as on the means to strengthen more. The ambassador raised with the Somali president the question of federalism and the difficulties related to its interpretations, referring to the situation which prevails in Galkayo between the authorities of Puntland and Galmudug. At the end of the discussion, the Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has expressed its most sincere thanks to the head of state Ismail Margele for the commitment in favor of a stable and prosperous Somali state in peace with him and with his neighborhoods.
In our national news, the National Agency for Employment in Training and Professional Insertion, in collaboration with the National Institute of Public Administration, has organized a training entitled Entrepreneurship and Technical Job Search, which has a duration of 10 days from November 14 to 24. 26 participants of ANIFEP staff took part in this training. At the same time, INAP participated actively and already has the reform of the administration and also the supervision of the process with the coordinator and trainer of ANIFEP. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Labor, Abdullah Ali Mohammed, the Director of INAP, Mr. Shirmaki Idris Ali, Coordinator of the NCP, Ali Muhammad Kamil, and Head of the Professional Insertion Service, Mrs. Muna Muhammad Ahmed, were present. The objective of this training is to create and mount a project which is becoming more and more a domain of insertion for the graduates in the country. This session has been established in the framework of strengthening the capacity of ANIFEP executives. A pedagogical formula has been used by the 3 trainers who are relayed in turn during these days of training with a view to facilitate the secrecy of these new techniques. The will method Moran, which is a new approach that one picks up from the reality of the environment to be able to detect the potential that the young creators can use in the future. This ceremony has been ended by the distribution of certificates. At the end of the ceremony, the Secretary General Abdullah Ali Mohammed has recalled the increase in the improvement of technical supply for the vocational training in order to adapt to the need of the employment market.
The Prefecture of Djibouti has led this morning in the Session 3 operation to fight against the sludge caused by the weather being poor on the public roads following the problems of proliferation of flies recurred recently in some neighborhoods of the capital. The Prefecture has visited this morning the Section 3 to view the first line the situation to be more precise. These concern the weather poor and the streets by the household in the front of their house or else weather, which may cause not only the causes of the diarrhea or other disease related to the problems of the hygiene, but also damage the public roads. For this purpose, the prefect of the capital, Mumin Hassan, has called the commitment to the neighborhood, the community leader, and the various associations in order to have a possible meeting to find a consensus against this problem.
The Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, in collaboration with UNICEF, has held this morning at the People's Palace a workshop on the current situation of the Community Development Center. For this occasion, the Secretary General to the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, Mr. Wahib Hamadou, the Chief Technical Advisor, Mr. Omar Gedi, the representative of UNICEF, Mrs. Hasna Abdullah, the directors of the various CDCs, and the youth of different neighborhoods have taken part in this workshop. The meeting began with the reading of the Holy Quran, and then it was the turn of the consultant to make a presentation on the study he has conducted within the CDC. In his presentation, the consultant has, in the first place, drawn up the current situation of the CDC, and in the second place, have a few recommendations were made to improve the situation. The situational analysis of the CDC administration, pedagogic institution, materials and finances will review the management of CDC to make a forefront in non-formal education of our young people. The Secretary of State for Youth and Sports has conducted this study on the personal commitment of the Head of State, His Excellency Ismail Margeli, who has placed the aspirations of the Djiboutian youth at the center of the government's concerns.
The Secretary General of the Secretary of Youth for Youth and Sport, Mr. Wahib Hamadou, has recalled in his intervention that the 9th edition of the Arta Hiking has always for a theme to promotion of peace. This theme is important since peace is dear to our President, Mr. Ismail Margeli, who advocate for peace not only in the level of Djibouti but also at the regional level. He said he has learned an appeal to all lovers and the hike to the camp in a mass in order to take part in the market of thus in their own way contribute to the promotion of peace.
Under the leadership of the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, the Prefecture of Arta has held this morning a preparatory meeting of Arta hiking plan for this Friday, November 27. The Secretary General of the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, Wahib Hamadou, the Prefecture of Arta, Mr. Abdullahi, and the different stakeholders in the organization of the hiking took part in this meeting. The goal was to make the point on the technical aspects in logistics, but also to put in place a health team in charge for ensuring the health coverage of the hikers.
In the framework of the celebration of the World Child Day, the NGO SOS Children in Village of Tejora has organized jointly with the Regional Directorate for the Education and Awareness workshop on the protection of the child's right. The workshop took place in the meeting room of the NGO and has gathered some 30 participants composed of a representative of the community, the teachers and schools counselors. The objective of this workshop was to raise awareness and to engage in a debate of a reflection among these educators on the question of protection of the child's right. It is for this reason that the workshop focused on the work of a group who will continue in the future.
And now on the continental level, Tanzania newly elected President John Magufuli has cancelled Independence Day celebrations and has ordered a clean-up campaign instead. Let's listen with more details.
The newly elected Tanzanian President John Magufuli has scrapped Independence Day celebration to spend the money on a clean-up campaign. An official statement said, "It is so shameful that we are spending huge amount of money to celebrate 54 years of independence when our people are dying of cholera," Magufuli said in a statement read on a state television late on Monday. Magufuli, who took power earlier this month after winning October 25 election, has introduced a swath of austerity, cut and crackdown public corruption. Those include the suspension of unnecessary foreign travel for government officials, allowance for seminar and meeting, as well as lavish cocktail and dinners by public institutions. The money should spend to go to delivery of social service, he said. Annual independence celebration usually see military parades, shawar, and traditional dance at the National Stadium in Dar es Salaam. No official cost has been given of the saving made by cancelling the rivalries.
In Canada now, the newly elected Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will announce Tuesday his plan to resettle 25,000 Syrian refugees, and he says all 10 of Canada's provincial premiers support bringing that many in Canada. Let's listen to this comment.
The Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will announce Tuesday his plan to resettle 25,000 Syrian refugees, and he says all 10 of Canada's provincial premiers supports bring that many in. Trudeau hasn't backed down from a pledge to bring 25,000 refugees from Syria to Canada by December 31, despite pushbacks by some following the deadly attack in Paris. Details of how the refugees will be brought over and where they will be housed are expected to be announced Tuesday. Everyone agreed that Canada must do more and must welcome 25,000 refugees, Trudeau said after meeting with provincial leaders late on Monday. Tuesday's announcement is sure to raise alarm in the U.S., where many Republican governors have said they don't want any Syrian refugees. Trudeau said robust security screening continued to be a high priority. Quebec Premier Philippe Couillard said accepting refugees and immigrants is a part of Canadian tradition. There was no one sitting at the table that is not interested in seeing refugees come. Migration Minister John McCallum said he spoke to Canada's big city mayor about how they can help resettle the refugees.
Still on the global agenda, the latest figures from the UN on global deaths attributed to climate change underscore the human tragedy of weather-related disasters. The report from the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction is saying extreme weather events have killed 660,000 people since 1995. Here are the explanations.
The latest figure from the UN on global death attribute to climate change underscored the human tragedy on weather-related disaster. The report from the UN United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction said extreme weather events have killed 606,000 people since 1995. These left more than 4 million people injured, homeless, or needy urgent help. The report to a sustained rise in the number of flood and severe storm, dryness, heat waves, and extreme cold that underline why it is so important that a new climate change agreement emerge from the COP21 in Paris, the agency said, referring to talk starting next week. Flooding accounted for almost half of the weather disaster. 3/4 of the people affected were in China or India. However, European Americans are not at all strangers to the phenomenon. Hurricane Katrina destroyed New Orleans 10 years ago. Flooding, this anthem, has claimed life in Texas, for example, and also in France, Italy, and elsewhere. The El Nino weather pattern, a phenomenon associated with extreme dryness, storm, and flood, is expected to strengthen before the end of the year and become one of the strongest on record, according to the UN Weather Agency. The World Meteorological Organization Secretary General Michel Jarreau said, "Right now, we say we think it's really going to be one of the 3 strongest ones. It's already a very strong one." He said the world's worst affected country were planning for the impact of agriculture, fishery, water, health, and implementing disaster management campaign to save lives and limit economic destruction.
A boy in Texas who was arrested for taking a homemade clock to schoolhouse his teacher mistook it for a bomb is suing for 14 million euros in compensation. Ahmed Mohammed was held by the police and suspended from classes. The incident, which went viral, speculated against the teenager, who is said to have been deeply traumatized. His arrest was deeply criticized, and he received an outpouring of support, including an invitation to a White House. Ahmed and his family have since moved to Qatar to complete his education. This is for tonight's news, and have a wonderful evening.